नमस्कार विद्यार्थी मित्रांनो, खूप सर्व विद्यार्थ्यांच्या डिमांड नंतर आपण आपली इंडियन पॉलिटीची बॅच इंग्लिशमध्ये सुरू करत आहोत. ही इंग्लिशमधील बॅच मी जवळपास सर्वच्या सर्व लक्ष्मीकांत कव्हर करण्याचा प्रयत्न केलेला आहे. ही इंग्लिश मीडियममधल्या बॅचची तुम्हाला एक नोट्ससुद्धा मिळेल आणि यासोबतच तुम्हाला या बॅचचे सर्वच्या सर्व व्हिडिओज, आपलं जे ज्ञानदीप अकॅडमीचा लाल कलरचा लोगो असणारा ॲप आहे, या लाल कलरचा लोगो असणाऱ्या ॲपवर तुम्हाला सर्वच्या सर्व बॅच मिळेल. मग या बॅचला ॲक्सेस किती असेल, व्हिडिओज केव्हा अपलोड केले जातील, तुम्ही ते व्हिडिओज किती दिवस पाहू शकता, या सर्व बाबतीतली सर्वच्या सर्व सूचना त्या ॲपवरच त्या ठिकाणी सूचना या सदरामध्ये तुम्हाला दिलेली आहे. तर मी तुम्हाला सर्वांना सुचवेल, ज्या विद्यार्थ्यांना इंग्लिश मीडियममधनं इंडियन पॉलिटीची बॅच हवी होती, तुम्ही ही बॅच नक्की जॉईन करा. तुमच्या मित्रांसोबत सुद्धा शेअर करा. यामध्ये मी तुम्हाला प्रत्येक कन्सेप्ट सांगण्याचा प्रयत्न तर केला आहेच, मात्र या कन्सेप्टच्या सोबतच त्या टॉपिकशी निगडीत जो महत्त्वाचा कंटेंट आहे आणि त्या टॉपिकशी निगडीत जे महत्त्वाचा फॅक्च्युअल डेटा आहे, जो तुमच्या परीक्षेसाठी अत्यंत उपयुक्त असतो, हा सर्वच्या सर्व डेटा सुद्धा मी त्या ठिकाणी देण्याचा प्रयत्न केलेला आहे. सो तुम्हाला सर्वांना विनंती की बॅच शेअर करा आणि जॉईन करा. थँक्यू. हॅलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम यू ऑल टू ज्ञानदीप अकॅडमी. टुडे we are going to continue the chapter on features of parliamentary government. In yesterday's session, you might have understood what are the various concepts or what is basic idea about parliamentary form of government. Just a quick review. Basically, democracies can be classified into various types. Out of the various types, two important types or two important systems or political systems that we have studied is, one is parliamentary form of government, second is presidential form of government. Now what we have studied? We have studied that we opted for parliamentary form of government and it is given in the constitution. We opted this parliamentary form of government from Britain. That's why the place where British Parliament is located is Westminster. And that's why the Indian model of parliamentary form of government is also called as Westminster model of government, or it is also called as Westminster government. Clear? Now here we are going to study every point in detail because these part form the basis of your next chapter. Many of you might feel that, sir, you are explaining it unnecessarily, but my dear friends, this explanation is very, very crucial. This more explanation will help you to understand the chapters in next phases in a very speedy way, in fastly, and you will get a clear idea about those words in the next days to come. So keep track with the chapter. Do not skip even a single word of this chapter. It is very, very essential. So let's start with this features of parliamentary government. First point. Now, first important feature. In case of Indian parliamentary government, we have real executive as well as nominal executive. Executive means what? Head of the institution, head of the state. It means we in case of India, we have real head as well as nominal head. Right? Now, president. Who is president of India? So, president of India is a head of the state. This is important word. President of India is head of the state. It means he is head of India. Here when I am using a word state, here I mean India. So, president is head of India. But he is just a nominal executive. Why? Because he has to follow all the advice given by Prime Minister and Council of Minister. President of India cannot act in his own discretion. He has to follow all the advices given by, not all, but he has to follow the advice given by Prime Minister and his Council of Minister. This is the reason why President is called as nominal head or nominal executive. Means in reality or in theory, President is head of India. But in reality, Prime Minister and his Council of Minister is the real head of India, is the real executive of India. Why? Because President has to act on the advice given by Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. Then Prime Minister, he is head of the government. Prime Minister, he is head of the government. Here two important words are there. One is state, second is government. So Prime Minister is head of the government at the central level. Prime Minister along with his Council of Minister is real executive in India. They are the real decision maker. I would use a word that they are real decision maker and their decision has more importance. Even president has to go as per the aid and advice given by Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. His real executive along with Council of Ministers. That's why who is real executive? It is Prime Minister and his Council of Minister. They are the real executive in India, whereas President is the nominal executive in India. So this is first feature. Now why so? What is the reason? I have explained it. Now to understand this concept about real executive and nominal executive, we have to go for Article 74 of the Indian Constitution. What Article 74 says? Now here Article 74 says, there shall be a Council of Ministers to aid and advise President of India. Clear. This is the clause given in Article 74, which says there shall be a Council of Ministers to aid and advise President of India. Now, when this question was asked, when this question raised in Supreme Court of India, that whether President should go by his own discretion, by his own conscience, or President should go by the aid and advice given by Council of Ministers, which should prevail? In this case, Supreme Court clearly said, since this word shall be is there, this word shall be made it mandatory. This word shall be made it binding on the President of India to act as per the advice given by Council of Ministers and Prime Minister. Due to this word shall be, it is binding upon the President of India that he should act on the advice given by Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. Here, the advice given by Council of Ministers is binding upon the President of India. Here remember, President cannot act in his own discretion. Whenever he do not go as per the advice given by Council of Ministers, it will lead to violation of the Constitution. Why? Because Article 74 itself makes it very, very clear that President has to go as per the aid and advice given by Council of Ministers. It is not mentioned explicitly, but it has been interpreted by Supreme Court that advice given by Council of Ministers and Prime Minister is binding upon the President of India. This is the reason why Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are real executive, whereas President is just only a nominal executive. Then came 42nd Amendment Act of 1976, which is called as Mini Constitution, and 44th Amendment Act of 1978, which was brought by Janta government. Janta government was headed by Morarji Desai, and this Janta government brought 44th Amendment Act to change most of the amendments brought by Indira government through 42nd Amendment Act. In simple term, 44th Amendment Act has been used as an antidote to 42nd Amendment Act. So, this 42nd Amendment Act as well as 44th Amendment Act also says that advice given by Council of Ministers is binding upon the President of India. So, these four things, Article 74, then 42nd and 44th Amendment Act, Constitutional Amendment Act. These three things have made it very, very clear that President cannot act in his own discretion. President has to act as per the aid and advice given by Council of Ministers. This is the reason why it has been mentioned very, very clearly that aid and advice given by Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers is binding upon the President of India. So, Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are real executive, whereas President is a nominal executive. President is, another word is used many a time, President is merely a titular head. Means he is only head of the title, but real power lies in the hands of Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. This is the first feature of parliamentary government. Remember, first feature of parliamentary form of government, we have real executive as well as we have nominal executive. Then, majority party rule. Now, what is meaning of majority party rule? I told you, legislature in India is called as parliament, right? Now, this parliament is composed of two houses. One is Lok Sabha and second one is Rajya Sabha. Members of Lok Sabha are directly elected based on universal adult franchise of Article 326. Now, who forms the government or who has the right to appoint Prime Minister and Council of Ministers? who has the right to become Prime Minister and Council of Minister? It is decided by the strength of a political party in Lok Sabha. So, the political party who has more than 50% of strength of Lok Sabha shall have the right to form government. It means the political party which has majority in Lok Sabha, the political party which has majority strength in Lok Sabha shall have the right to form government in India. That's why government in India are called as majority party rule, or it is called as majority party governments. First thing. Now comes second important thing. Second, since you might have seen since 1990s, what happened? Single party is not getting clear majority. So this is actually an interesting process of formation of opinion building. And what happened? There is rise of many regional political parties like Shiromani Akali Dal is there, Shiv Sena, DMK, AIDMK, Trinamool Congress is there, Nationalist Congress Party NCP is there, National Conference is there. So many these political parties have came to the power in the regional spheres due to various reasons. We'll go in analysis of those points later on. But what happened? When we got independence in 1947, the dominance or the influence of Indian National Congress on the minds of people was so large that everyone who got ticket from Indian National Congress got elected to the parliament. Almost everyone. But what happened? Over a time period, things started changing and it came to the light for the first time in 1967 when almost 7 to 8 states in India had non-Congress government. In 1967, for the first time, almost I don't remember the number exactly, but 7 to 8 states had non-Congress government in the state governments. So this was a very large change. Before 1967, there was everywhere Congress. But what happened in 1967? For the first time, 7 to 8 states had non-Congress government in their state governments. So this was called as a first democratic upsurge. Why? Because people started thinking beyond Congress. People started thinking for their own needs, for their own aspirations. There is an evolution of their own separate ideologies. How I should go for, what I want, how I want. No one should dictate what I want. So that's why this year 1967 has been called as a first democratic upsurge. Then came another landmark year. It was 1977. It is post-emergency time period of 1975. And it is for the first time in 1977 that there was non-Congress government in the center led by Morarji Desai. And it is called as second democratic upsurge. It has been called in a political angle in science. No need to remember this particular thing, but just remember this thing. 1977, it was called as a second democratic upsurge. And then came the decade of 1980s and 1990s when single political party has failed to achieve a single-handed majority. That's why they started forming government through many political parties coming together. And here it is given, whenever a single political party fails to form a government, it will lead to coalition governments. Naturally, parliamentary form of governments have majority party rule. But whenever a single political party fails to form a government, then number of political parties come together to form a government. So this number of political parties or the group of number of political parties who came together to form a government is called as coalition government. It is called as coalition government. So it is given over here. When many political parties come together to form a government, it is called as coalition government. Clear? So this is a coalition government. Now this coalition government have also been classified or known by different names. In this, we will try to understand two simple types of coalition government. One is majority coalition government and second is minority coalition government. One is majority coalition government, second is minority coalition government. We will take an example of Maharashtra. we'll take an example of Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, right now there is a government of MVA, that is Mahavikas Aghadi. Now this Mahavikas Aghadi is a coalition of three political parties. One is Shiv Sena, second is Indian National Congress, and third one is Nationalist Congress Party. Now these three political parties plus other political parties. Now these political parties have came together, they have formed a government and they have shared ministerial berths among themselves. It means all political parties who are part of this coalition are involved in the government through their ministerial positions. This is called as majority coalition government. Same in case of center also. Though BJP has clear-cut majority, but many political parties supported BJP in central elections. So all other political parties have came together, and that's why other political parties also got ministries. So since BJP has majority, still it can be called as a majority coalition government. Clear? When all members of coalition are part of the government, it is a majority coalition government. Now, another term is, it is minority coalition government. Now, this is very interesting. I will explain you what is minority coalition government. See, just imagine, suppose in again Maharashtra, BJP has got let us say around 105 seats. But to form government, a political party must have around 145 seats. Now BJP is short of 40 seats. Now Shiv Sena was part of BJP's government in previous term. This year Shiv Sena said that we will not form government with BJP. Now in this case, let us say if NCP says that we will support BJP, NCP has around 56 candidates. NCP says that we will support BJP for formation of government, but we will not take any ministerial berth from BJP. It means this government shall be formed by BJP's 105 members plus 56 members of NCP, right? As it was being offered by NCP in last term, that we will support BJP from outside. This word is important. We will support BJP from outside. It means NCP says that we don't want any ministry. We don't want to be part of the government. Or the only thing that we will do is, we will, whenever there is no confidence motion against BJP, we will vote for BJP for that no confidence motion. We will not take any ministry. We will not support BJP on any policy. It depends on policy. We will not support BJP on any bill. We do not give any assurance. We give assurance to BJP for only one thing. And that thing is, we will support BJP whenever there is no confidence motion. Whenever there is no confidence motion against BJP. It means we will not let this government fall, but we will not support this government for any programs, policies, activities, laws of the BJP. It is called as minority coalition government. See what is given over here. See, it is a situation where the coalition partners do not take active part in the government. It means they do not share ministerial positions. They support government only during no confidence motion. But this support is not guaranteed at the time of other bills, laws, work, policies, programs of the government. Is a minority coalition government. It is called as a minority coalition government. Clear? Majority coalition government. Second one is minority coalition government. So this is a clear thing. Majority party rule is there. But if any political party fails to get more than 50% of majority of these seats, in that case, a group of political parties will come together to form a government, and this group of political parties is called as a coalition government. In this, when all coalition partners are part of the government, then it is majority coalition government. But when the coalition partners do not take part in the government, but they support government while no confidence motion. It is called as a minority coalition government. It is called as minority coalition government. The next one, it is a caretaker government. Now, what is caretaker government? Every government has a term of 5 years, right? Every government has a term of 5 years. But what happened? Due to certain reason, due to resignation of prime minister, due to failure to pass no confidence test, or death of prime minister, whatever be the reason, if prime minister and his council of minister resigns, prime minister and his council of ministers resigns. Now, if they resign, then what happen? After resignation of prime minister and his council of minister, elections must be called within 6 months. Elections must be called within 6 months. Now, from the date of resignation to the date of new prime minister coming in the office after new elections, this time span, during this time span, when old PM and his council of minister continues in the office, they are called as caretaker government. It is given over here. It is a situation where prime minister and the council of minister continue to be in the office even after their resignation. After resignation, prime minister continues in the office till the general elections, and it is called as a caretaker government. This particular prime minister and his council of ministers are called as caretaker government. This caretaker government do not have right to take major fundamental decisions. They can take day-to-day life decisions, but they do not have right to take decisions which could have a long-term impact, which could have a long-term fundamental changes on the India. It is a caretaker government. So we have seen 4 important terms. First one, it is majority party rule. Second, coalition government. In coalition government, we have seen 2 types of coalition government. One is majority coalition government. Second one is minority coalition government. And here we have seen caretaker government. So it is important feature of parliamentary form of government, that is majority party rule. Then comes collective responsibility. Then comes another important word, which is a collective responsibility. Now, what is meaning of collective responsibility? I will first give you example, then we'll understand, we'll go into this particular thing. We'll take an example of India and Britain. Suppose in India, a very good decision was taken by a particular minister. In India, a very particular decision is taken by a particular minister, and it gave a lot of benefits. So in this case, though the decision has been taken by single minister, name shall be forwarded of entire government. So benefit shall be given to the entire government, right? Or another way, if a decision of a minister fails, then that single minister will not be blamed. If decision of a minister fails, then that single minister will not be blamed. Entire council of minister will be blamed. It means for every act of commission, means to commit an act, or for every act of omission, it means to not to carry out an act. For every act of commission and omission, it is entire council of ministers who are collectively responsible. For any act of commission and omission, it is entire council of ministers who are collectively responsible, is called as collective responsibility. Now, what happens in Britain? What happens in Britain? In Britain, if a minister fails to perform duty, it shall be the responsibility of that single minister. The blame lies on that single minister, because in Britain there is no collective responsibility. Clear? So this is difference. Now, in case of another reason, it is not single minister who is going to advise president, or it is not a single prime minister who is going to advise president. It is prime minister along with his council of minister is responsible for advising president. And one important line, all executive actions of the government shall be taken in the name of President of India. All executive action shall be taken in the name of President of India. That's why in India we have collective responsibility. It is bedrock principle of parliamentary government. Remember this point. Collective responsibility is the bedrock principle of parliamentary form of government in India. First thing. No. Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to Parliament in general and to Lok Sabha in particular. This line is very, very important for all examination. Whether it is preliminary examination, it is mains examination or any examination, this line is very, very important. Remember this line. Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to Parliament in general, but to Lok Sabha in particular. Why Lok Sabha in particular? Because Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers have to prove their majority on the floor of Lok Sabha. No confidence motion is not taken or is not passed in Rajya Sabha. Remember, no confidence motion has nothing to do with Rajya Sabha. No confidence motion is a part and parcel of Lok Sabha only. That's why this word Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers are collectively responsible to Parliament in general and they are collectively responsible to Lok Sabha in particular. This line is very, very, very important. Very important. Keep this line in mind. Clear? Now, what is meaning of collective responsibility? Here it is a theory. Whatever I explained you just few minutes back, here it is a theory. Collective responsibility means for every act, I am using a word every act, I am not using word any act. For every act of commission and omission, it is entire Council of Ministers who are responsible, who are collectively responsible, who are togetherly responsible. Single minister or single person is not responsible. Entire Council of Ministers are responsible togetherly. For every act of commission, that is committing an act, or for every act of omission, it is collectively responsible. Prime Minister and Council of Ministers cannot be sued individually for their official acts individually. Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers cannot be sued individually for their act, official act. Clear? That's why if they can be sued, the government of India will be sued. Single minister can never be sued. They have this immunity. That's why it is collective responsibility. Clear? Now, they act as a team. Or one word that is being used, they swim and sank together. This is important line. They swim and they sank together. This is very important and very interesting line. They swim and they sank together. Here another important line. Article 75 is the basis of collective responsibility. Remember this point. Article 75 is the basis of collective responsibility. Everyone must know this point very clearly. Article 75 is the basis of collective responsibility. Ministers are individually responsible to President, right? Which in turn to Prime Minister. This is again important line. Ministers are individually responsible to President, which are in turn to Prime Minister. Why? Because a minister can be given a position, can be given a department, his department can be changed or he can be removed from ministership by President, but on the recommendation of Prime Minister. Here, while appointing a minister or removing a minister, President cannot use his discretion. He does not have that right to use his discretion. He has to go as per the aid and advice given by Prime Minister only. And it is given in Article 75. We have seen two simple things. One is Article 74. Second is we have seen Article 75. Also, we have seen that Article 74 and 75 are the basis of parliamentary form of government. Clear. Also, we have seen two important articles for state government. They were Article 163, which is similar to 74, and Article 164, which is similar to Article 75, which is basis of parliamentary form of government in the states. So, remember, Article 74 and 75 is the basis of parliamentary form of government in the center, and Article 163 and 164 is the basis of parliamentary form of government in the states. Now here, I will just explain you what these two articles are and then we'll move forward. Article 74 talks about two important things. This is very important. I repeat once again. Article 74, it talks about two important things. Article 74, it talks about two important things. Right? What are those two important things? First point. Article 74's first point says, there shall be a council of ministers to aid and advise President of India. So, first point talks about there shall be a council of ministers to aid and advise President of India. First point. Second point, what advice is given by council of ministers cannot be inquired into any court. It means the point of secrecy is inbuilt in Article 74. The point of secrecy is inbuilt in Article 74. That's why, remember these 2 points. Article 74 has 2 important points. First point, there shall be a council of ministers to aid and advise President of India. And second point, what advice is given by council of ministers cannot be inquired into any court. This is second important point. Now, we'll talk about Article 75. Article 75. What Article 75? It is similar to Article 164 for the states. Article 75 says, Prime Minister shall be appointed by President of India. So, Article 75 is about appointment of Prime Minister. 75 says, Prime Minister shall be appointed by President of India. Then, other council of ministers shall be appointed by President of India, but on the recommendation of Prime Minister. Clear? Then, giving them department, changing their portfolio, changing their departments and removing them from the post shall be carried out by President of India, but on the recommendation of Prime Minister. So basically Article 75 is about appointment and removal of Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. That's why Article 75 is the basis of collective responsibility. It means whenever a single minister fails to resign, Prime Minister will resign. And resignation of Prime Minister is resignation of entire Council of Ministers. My dear friends, remember this line very neatly. Resignation of Prime Minister is resignation of entire Council of Ministers. This you have to keep in mind. Resignation of Prime Minister is resignation of entire Council of Ministers. It means Prime Minister can ensure collective responsibility through Article 75 by resigning himself or herself. That's why Article 75 is the basis of collective responsibility. Ministers are individually responsible to President, which are in turn to Prime Minister. In Britain, there is legal responsibility. In Britain, there is legal responsibility. Now, here one simple thing. In India, we have collective responsibility, but we do not have legal responsibility. In Britain, there is legal responsibility, but there is no collective responsibility. There is no collective responsibility. Why so? Now, we will try to understand this concept in a simple manner. Now, here we will try to understand the concept of legal responsibility. Why in India we do not have legal responsibility and why in Britain there is legal responsibility. Now, see, in India, head of the state is President. In India, head of the state is President. Whereas, in case of Britain, head of the state is Queen. That's why that one simple term you must have heard. India is a republic democracy, right? India is a republic democracy. Whereas England is a monarchical democracy. This is simple difference you try to remember. England is a monarchical democracy. Clear? Now, what happened? In India, there is a concept. Every executive action of the government is taken in the name of President of India. Clear? In India, every executive action is taken in the name of President of India. So, if a minister does something good, the entire good thing or laud or applause go to that entire government, it means President is applauded. If anything goes wrong, entire Council of Ministers is blamed, it means President is blamed. Why? Because we have collective responsibility. And in case of India, President is elected by people. So, if a person is elected by people, people have the right to criticize that person. People have the right to blame that person. People can say president has did this wrong, president is not correct, people can say anything. Why? Because people choose that person. We have popular sovereignty. Clear? Now in case of England, the topmost position is hereditary, right? It is through generations. Suppose if a minister commits something wrong and all executive actions are taken in the name of Queen. So if this minister is wrong, council of minister is wrong, and if council of minister is wrong, the Queen is wrong. Can we say like that? Can we say king can be wrong? No, because in medieval time period, kings and queens were considered as a divine incarnation of God, and God can never fail. That's why king can never fail. And if you say that Queen is wrong, you will be hanged till death. That's why here president is chosen by people. People can criticize president, but here Queen is not chosen by people. It is hereditary position. People do not have right to criticize Queen, and this is the reason why in case of Britain there is legal responsibility which lies upon this minister itself. It do not go to the Queen, whereas in case of India it moves upward. That's why in India we have collective responsibility but no legal responsibility, whereas in Britain legal responsibility lies with this particular minister. Why? Because king can do no wrong. राजा गलत हो ही नहीं सकता है. Why? Because he is godly. But in case of India, president is chosen by people, so he could be wrong. वो गलत हो सकता है. So that's why in case of India we have collective responsibility but no legal responsibility. It is explained over here. See, in Britain there is legal responsibility. Legal responsibility means for every act of commission and omission, it is individual minister who is legally responsible. That individual person is legally responsible, which is not the case in India. In case of Britain, that individual minister is legally responsible. That individual minister is legally responsible for his every act of commission and omission. Why? Because king can do no wrong. राजा गलत नहीं हो सकता है, यह उनका कहना है. Whereas in case of India, राजा गलत हो सकता है. Right? That's why in India we do not have legal responsibility. We have just only collective responsibility. So these are the important features. I know it's taking time, but these points are very very important. Especially try to understand. अगर ये डिक्टम है कि किंग कैन डू नो रॉन्ग, मतलब उनका कहना है कि गॉड इज ग्रेट, गॉड इज डिवाइन की इनकारनेशन, और किंग कैन डू नो रॉन्ग, राजा गलत हो ही नहीं सकता है. दैट्स व्हाई इन ब्रिटेन देयर इज लीगल रिस्पांसिबिलिटी, एंड दैट रिस्पांसिबिलिटी लाइज ऑन द शोल्डर्स ऑफ दैट इंडिविजुअल मिनिस्टर्स. So that's all from my side for today's lecture. We'll keep meeting again and again for many of your doubts, and we'll try to explain polity in same manner. Till then, keep watching and have a good day.